It's been 3 months since the government of Alberta ended a province-wide teacher strike and lockout by legislating educators back to work and imposing a 4-year contract. As part of that process, the government promised to spend about $400 million in the next 3 years trying to improve students' learning conditions. The government says $143 million is now heading to hundreds of Alberta schools, so some of them can hire what the Premier calls complexity teams.
I hope that teachers have some comfort that we heard them and we're acting on it. And I guess we'll see, as this rolls out, the kind of difference it makes.
During the teacher strike, classroom complexity was a major issue. Alberta's student population has ballooned, but educators and school trustees also say the proportion of students who have extra needs and who require specialized help has also exploded. To respond to this call for help, the government asked school boards for detailed class size data and information on student needs. And now they've released a trove of data about classrooms. Measuring these needs isn't simple. There are growing numbers of newcomer children who don't speak English fluently, children with medical needs or diagnosed with a disability or learning disorder, and students with mental health challenges. Sometimes they're grouped together in large classes in packed school buildings. So the government looked at factors like class size by grade grouping. They counted students who are learning English and how many have disabilities, and looked at research and practices in other jurisdictions. The government says they use that data to categorize each class as having a high, medium, or low priority for extra help. Of nearly 89,000 kindergarten to grade 12 classrooms, they categorized 5% as highly complex, 36% as medium complexity, and 59% as low complexity. And nearly 3/4 of highly complex classrooms are in Edmonton or Calgary. The government is now sending money to 476 schools it has deemed highly complex. They're telling each school to hire 1 teacher and 2 educational assistants to work with students who need extra help. But there are some limitations. They can only afford to fund these complexity teams at about 3/4 of the schools it has deemed high needs. And the teams are only for elementary schools. None of the funding is to help students in junior or senior high. Recruiting 476 teachers and 950 EAs could also be a big challenge. The Alberta NDP's education critic says the government needs to set a clear timeline for when they expect these teams to be working with students.
The entire teacher strike that we went through was about a lack of resources to address complexity in our classroom. So if this money was available to boards, why on earth did the government not distribute it to the boards so it could be used in our classrooms today?
Premier Smith says this investment is a first step and different funding for older students is coming. What remains to be seen is how quickly the school boards can hire these educators, how effective these teams will be, and what additional funding might be in the budget later this month. Janet French, CBC News, Edmonton.